Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosovich, George Stoya here from the SoonerScoop.com studios. Welcome back to the SoonerScoop.com YouTube page, OU Bama Week. Had a really good conversation with Nick Kelly from AL.com, one of George's boys, that kind of gave us a little bit of insight into the Crimson Tide. Kalen DeBoer obviously brings his team up to Norman on Saturday, 8-2, 4-2. The state of Tennessee and the road has not been kind to the Crimson Tide this year with losses in Nashville as well as Knoxville. Oklahoma looking to get bowl eligible. First things first, how was the drive down this morning, Georgie boy?
Great.
You got pulled over.
Oklahoma City Police got me. So
you like that?
Okay, you guys sabotaged me.
That's not sabotage. That's complete. I think that
this is giving
one of
me
the things
flashbacks.
I've always done is, obviously respected the blue. Something George certainly didn't do today.
I respect the blue. I pulled right over.
That's not what we've heard.
I admitted defeat.
All right, very good. Well,
going 15 over.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell a lot of people that. Maybe we can get that knocked down. If George needs
a
a lawyer right now, maybe we could get you set up for something like that.
Yeah.
I was getting scared. I didn't know if the light wouldn't come on for a second, and I was getting worried that our plan was going to come to an end.
Well, Carrie's got the music. How long were you guys planning that?
It's been a long time in the making. We were just waiting for you to get pulled over. But
you know what was funny is the first thing that my dad said to me when I told him is, he goes, "I can't believe Eddie hasn't been pulled over."
Well, I've been pulled over multiple times,
yeah,
but
that's what I said. I was like, I bet he has.
I've gotten out of the ticket multiple times as well, though. Yeah. It helps. It helps to have a good face for radio, if you will. All right, here we go. OU, Alabama coming up. Obviously, we got the availability report as per usual on Wednesday night. Some names that we didn't see, though. Let's start there. Michael Tarquin, Jalil Farouk, Gavin Sawchuk. All should be available going into the game on Saturday.
Yeah, good news there.
Finally, some good news in talking about an availability report.
You wouldn't know it on Twitter because everybody that replies to the availability report thinks it's just the end of the world, and they're surprised by how many people are on there when it's been the same every single week. So I think that's great news. Maybe Michael Tarquin can give it a go and start for Oklahoma. I know we saw him in warm-ups a couple weeks ago. Did not look like somebody ready to play.
He was going to be able to give much.
But, if he can play this week, that'd be a huge boost on the offensive line that obviously has been shuffling a bunch of guys. Jalil Farouk, what can he really give you?
Sure.
We'll see. I think that having just an experienced guy available, though, certainly helps you there. And then Gavin Sawchuk, look, he hasn't played a whole lot this year, but when he's been healthy in the past, he's been really good. So maybe he can give you there. I do think it's going to be a lot of Taylor Tatum and Xavier Robinson. I think both true freshmen have done a really good job when they've been in there. And we'll see on Javonte Barnes. He was listed as questionable.
I know that Brent talked about it on Tuesday as well, just kind of what they were doing with Jalil Farouk last week. You didn't see him much in the second half, or I guess 2 weeks ago you didn't see him much in the second half in Columbia. That was a coordinated effort. I mean, I don't think that was because he wasn't performing or playing well.
Yeah, I think they had some sort of snap limit on him. I don't know if that will be the case this week. You would think 2 more weeks, and he didn't get re-injured, I don't think, in the game. So he's had 2 more weeks to kind of rest and get ready. I would assume that maybe there is no snap count on him this week. So that could be a huge boost for Oklahoma in the passing game.
No doubt about it. It's been a weird week just in terms of, going all the way back to Tuesday. We recapped everything Brent Venables had to say about the offensive coordinator search and all of that. But with this being the game day preview, let's get a little bit into Alabama. Playing some of their best football of the season. You had the 2 losses early in the season, but last 3 weeks have been extremely good. Obviously beat up on Mercer, but you go back to the LSU game and the Baton Rouge experience, they beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, Jalen Milroe has been kind of the story of their season in a lot of ways, and the way he played against LSU, really dangerous with his legs. Is he going to beat you as a passer? Sure, he can beat you. He's got a lot of really good weapons. Ryan Williams, obviously, is the one that everybody knows about, but it's his legs that I think are really concerning for Oklahoma. They've been really good this year defensively in the run game. They haven't faced a player quite like this. I mean, no one really has in college football unless you've played Alabama. So stopping him is going to be key. And then this is an Alabama defense that has shown weaknesses but is starting to really play good football as of late. They have a good defensive line, not as good as some of the defensive lines that I think Oklahoma's faced this year, which they've faced some of the best in the country, but still a really good group that can get after Oklahoma and Jackson Arnold. So they're going to have to look. The reality of the situation, Oklahoma's going to have to play a near perfect game, if not a perfect game, to win this football game.
Brent Venables and some of his players talked about the matchup with not only Alabama, but certainly Kalen DeBoer as he makes his way through his first season in Tuscaloosa after coming off of a national championship title game run with the Washington Huskies. It's just weird that, the whole thing about like Nick Saban not being on the sideline anymore. I think that I'm still kind of getting used to that. But as Nick Kelly will talk about here during the interview portion of the program today, it's been pretty good, all things considered, and it seems like it's peaking in the right direction.
No one is going to be able to replace Nick Saban, right? So I think that Kalen DeBoer has done a pretty damn good job. He's got them rolling, and if they continue this, they're going to make the playoff, and I think that they have as good a chance as anybody to win the national title. And you look at Kalen DeBoer's track record, he's won everywhere he's been. Obviously, what he did at Washington last year was super impressive. So I have no doubt, look, is he going to go on to win as many national titles as Nick Saban? I'm not sure anybody will, right, and have the success that he did. But I think he's definitely going to be able to keep Alabama as one of those perennial powers in college football.
Here is Brent Venables, as well as some of the players talking about the matchup with the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, obviously the DNA is different, what they're doing in all three phases, offense, defense, and their special teams. Successful a different type of way in some ways. In some ways it's similar. I think one of Kellen's strengths as a football coach, a very successful coach, is he takes a group of players that he has and he figures, and their staff, they figure out what they can do, and then they major in that, put them in position to be successful based on the players' strengths. So they've done a nice job of doing that throughout the course of the season, and but they look like Alabama of old in regards to the lines of scrimmage and the skill and the quarterback play, what they're doing on defense, the aggressiveness, forcing turnovers, those types of things. So some ways different, some ways not.
I think they're really good. Obviously, their guys, Ryan Williams, number 2, he's the main target, but they got some pretty good receivers all around. Different guys that do different stuff, gadget guy or a guy that runs routes, but they have a pretty good receiving corps.
Yeah, bye week was awesome. Getting a week off is really nice, especially playing a schedule like this. Honestly, like it's tough. You're week after week, you're playing some studs, playing some really good teams. And so having that bye week's really nice. And on top of that, being able to game prep for Alabama an extra week is super helpful too.
Yeah, incredibly explosive, and they have great playmakers everywhere. Certainly starts, everything goes through the quarterback. But they have it at offensive line play. They're really good up front. They know what they're doing. They're making everything work. And then the running backs are fantastic. They got home run hitters, real strong, physical running backs that do a great job at running behind their pads. A massive O-line that's really good at opening big gaps for people. And then fantastic explosive receivers and tight ends that can get behind you. And they have tremendous catch radius. Just, they can catch it in traffic, make something out of nothing, make competitive plays. So it's all a challenge. And top 10 on offense and defense and scoring offense and scoring defense. They're playing great football right now. They've obliterated their last 3 opponents and just run right through them. And they lost 2 one-score games on the road. And they've beaten, I believe, 5 bowl-eligible teams. They've beaten some really good teams, been in some really tough games and found ways to win and come up short in a couple games. But it's a team that's improved from where they were at the beginning of the year to where they're at now. But, man, you're not going to luck up, and win this game. It's about physicality. It's about execution. Certainly the run game and the quarterback containing him, if you will. Preventing him from having a career-type day is paramount. But they've been really opportunistic. I think they've given it away 11 times. They've created 24 turnovers, maybe 15 in their last 3 games. So they're really starting to play well within their systems and starting to play really aggressively. I know several players on their roster that I'm familiar with through the recruiting process, both here at Oklahoma and prior to coming here to Oklahoma. I had their middle linebacker, number 11. And Jihad Campbell was a guy that had committed at Clemson, but they've got a really talented roster. They're getting starting to play really, really well, and we're going to have a great challenge. But something that we've been really good at this year, to your point, something that they've really been fantastic in, and so those 2 things are going to meet, on Saturday night.
All right. got your work cut out for you if you're Oklahoma. If that certainly doesn't paint a picture, I would
But
imagine.
what do you have to lose if
Yeah,
you're
no,
Oklahoma?
and that's
Play
kind of
spoiler.
That's kind of the point. Like you still have great opportunity. We talked about it on Tuesday. It's certainly not been the season that anybody around these parts would have wanted, but at the same time, you beat Alabama. Maybe you can get some good vibes going into next season. There is a lot of talk about the future, and especially here, certainly this past Tuesday when you're talking about offense coordinator, all that kind of stuff. But if Oklahoma can win a game over the next 2 weeks, they are bowl eligible, and it does mean something in the progress of this program.
It'd be huge. And I know a lot of people out there are like, really, it'd be huge to go to the Liberty Bowl or whatever. Like
Not about the game more so than it is some of these practices you get in December.
Yeah, you get some of these young guys that need the reps, need the time on the practice field, all those sorts of things. Because you're going to see a lot of these guys, if they were to make a bowl game, I would assume some of these seniors sit out of that game or whatever. And you saw it last year in the Alamo Bowl. A lot of opportunity for some younger guys to play, get some reps. It's worth your while to go play in a bowl game, even if it's not the biggest bowl game. We all get it. It's unacceptable what's happened this season. But if you can go and find a way to win against either one of these last two teams, I think it'd be a huge step in the right direction for Oklahoma in terms of just going into the offseason with at least some momentum. We all know next year's kind of a make it or break it year for everybody, but I think that you could feel a little bit better about yourself if you can somehow find a way to get to a bowl game.
What did you make of talking to Jackson Arnold on Tuesday night, just in terms of a bounce back from, you talk about just an awful way to lose a football game that I'm sure everybody's well aware of, but the way that he fumbles and just kind of his not really ups and downs of the season, but there's been so many downs.
Yeah, his demeanor on Tuesday, he seemed unaffected by it. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Sure.
I don't know. It feels like he certainly has moved past what happened. He knows that it was an unacceptable performance by himself. And I think that also, there's a lot of factors that go into that. We often place a lot of blame on the quarterback, and I think rightfully so in a lot of situations. Yeah. I think there's also guys that could probably be playing better around him. The offensive coordinator situation is clearly not ideal, but it certainly seems like Jackson is focused on trying to get a win in these last two games, prove that he can be a starting quarterback, whether that's at Oklahoma or somewhere else, we'll find out. But, it didn't feel like to me that he was still dwelling on the past.
Here is Jackson Arnold as well as Woody Washington just kind of talking about getting things right, finishing the season with a positive and possibly a win over Alabama on Saturday.
Very good group. They play physical. They play together. It'll be a great challenge for us, but I'm super pumped up, and we're excited. Had an extra week of work, and we're ready.
These last 2 weeks been just coming off of the way the games are ended and just kind of moving on, learning from it, and trying to grow from it.
Yeah, obviously it's a heartbreaker. Like, you never want a game to end like that, and for me in the quarterback room, I got to look back at the film and watch it, and can't fumble like that, can't turn the ball over, but at the same time, we got 2 more games, 2 more great teams we got to play, so really just got to put it behind us and move forward.
Jackson, how big would it be for this team to get to a bowl game?
It'd be huge. A lot of people were probably saying this team has nothing left to play for, but really a bowl game is huge. Being able to spend an extra month with the guys, the seniors that are going to leave, it's big. It's big for those guys. It's big for people that haven't even been to a bowl game yet, like our freshmen. Just being able to be a part of that atmosphere is a huge, goal for the team. Would boost a lot of morale.
Very important. This program's run on success, and it's been I don't know how many years since we've not been to a bowl game. So that's what we're working towards, and this is the next step to it.
It was big. If I didn't have those 15 practices and just a week to go into it, the game would have been a lot different. But again, for me last year, I'm building confidence with the ones, kind of stepping into a leadership role at an early stage. It was all beneficial. Obviously extra time to prepare for a game is super helpful, especially same as this bye week last week.
Have you seen guys rallying around each other through the adversity that's faced you guys throughout the year?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think this is one of the closest teams that I've been a part of, despite our record. The guys come in each and every day and just put in work, and we lean on each other when in those times of adversity. So
yeah, no, it'd be awesome. Obviously going 2-0 these last 2 weeks would be ideal. Send those seniors off with the great last 2 weeks against two great teams, and be 2 great environments too. It'd be really awesome.
We want to hear more from some of the senior guys, obviously, that core fivesome, if you will, of the super seniors. Woody Washington be one of the oldest guys. It seems like he's literally been here forever. I mean, somebody brought it up to me this morning. He's been here since before COVID, which is kind of crazy to think about at the same time. But we will want to hear from Kelly first. I'm parched. My mouth is parched. I need water, I think. I'm on this no water thing right now. I'll have to tell you all about it later. Very, very healthy person I am. I know. If I was like Howard, as Kerry reminds me in my ear, I would be asking for, what was he, a Scotch guy? I think he was a Scotch guy.
Howard Schnellenberger was the coach in Oklahoma before I was born.
Awesome. But you know what? Let's round this back. Also somebody that happened to get pulled over quite a bit, even in Cleveland County, if you know what I mean. I think Bev had to drive him home a couple times. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, by the way. Neither here nor there. First, let's give out some winners and tell you about Prize Picks as we have all season. Play $5, get $50 instantly using the promo code SoonerScoop. We've been telling you week in and week out how easy the process is. All you got to do is go download the Prize Picks app or go to the website prizepicks.com and use the promo code SoonerScoop. Get $50 when you play $5. Very simple process, fun to work around on the weekends, have a little bit of a skin in the game. What are you going with this week?
I've got Travis Hunter, who, by the way, Heisman favorite. I think he should win the Heisman this year. I have him over half a touchdown this week. It can be in any fashion, so I think he's going to get into the end zone because he does that a lot. And then I'm taking Sawyer Robertson, the Baylor
quarterback,
over 237.5 passing yards against Houston this weekend. He's been on a tear lately.
Yeah, he's been tearing it. West Virginia. The Mountaineers, they got shredded last week by Jake Spavital and Sawyer Robertson. I'm fading the Steelers, by the way, on Thursday night. I think Cleveland wins the game straight up. That's not part of this segment, though. Russell Wilson under 187.5. Jerry Jeudy over 47.5 receiving yards on Thursday night. Amazon Prime experience. Jameis Winston's going to go off, if you will. So all you got to do is go to download the Prize Picks app, or just go to the website, prizepicks.com. Play $5, get $50 instantly using the promo code SoonerScoop. All right, there you go. Love Prize Picks. Love having them around.
Great.
Let's go and drop down with Nick Kelly from AL.com, learning a little bit more about Kalen DeBoer's Crimson Tide. Here it is. Now for the game day preview, we bring in Nick Kelly from AL.com, and obviously a little bit of a different. There were so many things, I think, that when this game was announced, obviously with you moving to the SEC, you had Nick Saban still on the sideline for Oklahoma. Oklahoma had a functional football
Alabama.
team. Or what did I say?
For Oklahoma.
Oh, damn it. Whatever. They get the idea. It hasn't been going well. That's about par for the course with everything going on in Norman, but certainly different style right now with Alabama moving in. They're 8-2, 4-2, obviously in the conference play, but it does seem like they are playing extremely good football here under Kalen DeBoer. You covered the Nick Saban era. I guess we'll just start here. What's the difference been? The biggest difference with Kalen DeBoer and maybe the obvious stuff that everybody sees from the outside looking in. But this first year, I would imagine it's gone pretty well. OU fans would kill for an 8-2 record right now.
Yeah, it's been interesting. You knew that when Nick Saban was gone, whoever replaced him, there was going to be an unfair measuring stick. And the moment something didn't go well, it was going to be, well, Nick Saban didn't have this happen, or Nick Saban wouldn't let that happen, or, hyper-analyzing everything. Like when they lost to Vanderbilt, Kalen DeBoer's T-shirt, the fact that he wore a T-shirt, that was a big talking point. It was silly, but it was a big talking point. And then people were talking about how he had brought an ice cream truck to fall camp, and like that's the problem, and just all these little minute things that have been analyzed when they lose to a team like Vanderbilt. Now Vanderbilt was better this year. We didn't quite know that at the time after around that time that Alabama lost, when Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. But it's just been interesting to see kind of how fans have handled someone who's not Nick Saban, where Nick Saban could do no wrong, and the next person was going to have that pressure. And I think Kalen's handled it well. It's been a case of, okay, I had to ride out a little bit of that storm in October. But, to your point, 8-2, beat Georgia, beat LSU handedly. So it's been a really solid first season. And I think Kalen is slowly but surely getting kind of his system, his way of doing things, his culture put into the building. I think it's working overall. But, of course, these next few weeks are going to be really interesting to kind of see how things land as far as the playoff goes.
Nick, it's been really interesting watching Kalen DeBoer, but I feel like the story for Alabama so far this season has been Jalen Milroe. And the way that Jalen plays is usually how this team goes. The way he played against LSU looked like a Heisman candidate, one of the best players in the country. The way he played against Vanderbilt, you're like, okay, well, that wasn't great, right? The turnovers have been an issue at times. Feels like he's starting to really hit his stride, that they found something. I mean, he's electric on the ground. Just what's he been like this season, and how important has he been, like I said, basically for what every game it feels like they go as Jalen Milroe goes?
Yeah, I mean, he's the best athlete on the field normally.
Yep.
I remember even back in Dallas at SEC Media Days, I went kind of did an informal, not scientifically maybe correct survey of just players going asking and who's the best athlete in the SEC, and he won that poll I took, so to speak. And so yeah, he's just freaky athletic. He can do things that you think he's in one spot, next thing you know he's running right by you. He's just got, especially if he gets in the open field, he's tough to stop. And I think that Alabama is finding ways to use him better in that way, and also for Jalen, not trying to make him something he's not. They lost that Tennessee game passing a ton, and that's, he can make throws. He's a quarterback for a reason, but really Jalen's at his best when he's making checkdowns. He's finding guys that aren't necessarily that home run ball, that he's having opportunities to run and use his legs to hurt a defense. So I think that balance, we're seeing that more from Alabama. Alabama's running the football, whether it be with Jalen or with the running backs, Justice Haynes, Jam Miller, and they're passing when need be. I mean, they have got really good receiver in Ryan Williams, but this isn't an offense with Jalen that you probably should be passing 40 or even 30 times a game maybe. I think around 20-25 is a really solid number to be passing with him with. And that's what they're doing these last few games. And I think it's worked really well.
It's never a problem when you do have somebody like a Ryan Williams that you can get the ball to in space. Obviously, everybody saw his play against Georgia. From a wide receiver just standpoint, just the position room as a whole, it seems like it's really two guys that get the ball quite a bit. Ryan Williams obviously leading the team in receptions. Outside of him, and then just speak to Ryan Williams, and, you know, obviously I think that we have to say it, the 17-year-old, I guess maybe now 18, I think he was just right on his birthday, or he just had his birthday. What has that been like with the wide receiver room for Alabama coming into Norman on Saturday?
Yeah, well, he's still 17. He doesn't turn 18 until February, actually. So he's going to spend this whole season as a 17-year-old, which for a guy who, I think he made the semifinalist list for the Blitnikoff Award, given the top receiver in the country. Pretty good for a 17-year-old who's supposed to be in his senior year of high school. So, but I'll stop talking about how he's 17. I think everyone and their mom knows that he's 17.
Yeah.
But
just have to hit it for the algorithm, and then you move on.
Right. There you go. Hit the SEO there. But no, I think it's one of those things where Ryan, I mean, just a very mature guy. Like, you would not know he's 17. And that's been the cool thing about the Kalen DeBoer era. We get to talk to freshmen. We did not get to do that under Nick Saban. And so we're getting to see Ryan Williams and his personality. He's got a big one. And so it kind of makes it fun because he's got a big personality to go with, just his big playability. But yeah, he is the biggest piece, maybe the best player on the offense that they have. And so then you combine that with some receivers who are solid, no one who I think scares defenses, but Jeremy Bernard, who they brought from Washington, he's kind of the second option, if you will. Just a solid receiver. He makes plays. He actually had a huge block against Mercer where he took out two defensive players for the Bears for Ryan Williams' touchdown. So Jeremy does some nice things. He's a solid receiver, but again, he's not maybe quite in that echelon of the just crazy elite receivers that they've had at Alabama with Devontae Smiths and now Ryan Williams and even, Amari Cooper, Julio Jones. It's a long list. Jeremy Bernard's solid, but not quite in that top echelon. And you have some other guys as well that they've used occasionally, but it really is those top two, and Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard at receiver.
Nick, tell us about the other side of the football, because I think the Alabama defense, we always hear about how great they are on that side of the ball. Had some ups and downs. It feels like they're playing a lot better football recently, really shut down LSU. Just who are some of the guys that have stood out? Where are the strengths? Where are the weaknesses in this defense? I want to say, too, this is a very favorable matchup for Alabama. It is in a lot of ways, but when you look at turnover margin, I think Alabama's number one in the conference in turnover margin.
Oh, that should match well with one of the worst teams in the country.
I think Oklahoma's like last in turnover margin. So I know they've been able to force a lot of turnovers on that side of the ball too, Nick, but tell us a little bit about the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, so Kane Womack, the defensive coordinator, they brought in, he was the South Alabama head coach. They brought
Yep.
him in to be the DC. I mean, takeaways are his thing. I mean, he's been hitting that since day one. If guys are not intercepting enough passes in practice, if they are not punching the ball out enough, he's yelling at them. He's getting after them. And I think we're seeing that pay off for Alabama. 5 straight games, I believe, with at least 3 takeaways, which is pretty remarkable. I mean, they're averaging a whole more takeaway than they were a season ago under Saban. So, yeah, the emphasis he places has really worked. They're taking the ball away, and really, when you ask about strengths, this defense starts in the middle. Deontay Lawson, Jihad Campbell, two of their best players. Both, I think, have a good shot to be drafted pretty high in April. And I mean, Jihad Campbell was just a tear all over the field. Like he can run, he's fast, he hits. I mean, he's a scary linebacker to go against. And so those two are probably the best defenders, frankly, right now they have that if I was an opposing offense, I'd be looking for, hoping that they don't mess things up. And they're really starting to round into form. They maybe didn't play their best back, around Vanderbilt, but LSU, they looked fantastic. So it starts there. As far as a weakness, the pass rush hasn't really been there in terms of a pure pass rusher type guy like a Will Anderson or Dallas Turner, which a lot of teams don't have guys like that. So Alabama's been fortunate, but Alabama doesn't necessarily have that guy right now. And even their depth at outside linebacker, it's what they call the wolf position, is not very strong right now just because they had Q Robinson, who was basically a starter. He's out for the season. And then Keanu Coate, another guy, he just entered the transfer portal, or he just announced that he's going to leave and enter the transfer portal. So they got some young guys on the outside. Quay Russaw is solid, and I really like what he could do and what his potential is, but he's still developing. He's a redshirt freshman. So the pass rush to me and difference makers, that's probably the biggest question mark. It was going into the season, and it kind of still is. They've got solid players up front, but no one that necessarily scares you to the extent that a Will Anderson or a Dallas Turner might have if you're an OC. So, yeah, I think that if you're going to get after Alabama, you don't necessarily have to worry about as tough of a pass rush. Though I will say, Kane Womack dials up some pretty good blitzes and he gets creative. They'll even bring Jihad Campbell off the edge, but not maybe those premier pass rushers that they've had in the past.
There might be a couple guys that flash a little bit more on Saturday than they have all season against Oklahoma's offensive line. Special teams wise, Graham Nicholson's done a lot of the place kicking, or I guess all of the place kicking. 48 for 48 extra points, 5 for 7 on field goals. How's the special teams been under Kalen DeBoer? And then obviously punter and everything else that comes with the special teams unit.
Yeah, there's been some inconsistency. There have been some good things. So they brought in Graham Nicholson, who won the Luke Rose Award last year from Miami, Ohio, and he hasn't really kicked much. They've only had him kick field goals, as I think you said, 7 times. So it's been interesting because in some ways, they almost need to give him more work because he just hasn't had many high pressure situations to kick in. And so that's been an adjustment because this offense has kind of been boom or bust to an extent. But he's been good on extra points, so that's a good place to start. And James Burnip didn't have a great game last game, but he's been fantastic at punter. Frankly, one of their best players if you just look across the board. But he's a punter, so he's not going to quite get the same glory as maybe a Ryan Williams would. But yeah, James Burnip is a really good punter. He's been there for several years now. And then special teams wise, return wise, they lost their main punt returner and Cole Adams to a season ending injury. So Ryan Williams and then fellow freshman Jalen Mbakwe are returning punts. And so and they've had a few maybe learning moments, so to speak, back there. And so that's something to watch. But they've been solid recently. So that's a good sign in terms of ball security. But yeah, it's a group that has some inconsistency, but overall, I think they're in a solid spot.
Nick, going to ask you a big picture question here, kind of put you on the spot. You've covered some great college football teams during your time covering Alabama. You've seen teams that are national title contenders and all of that. Do you think this Alabama team, can win a national title? We were talking today. It feels like college football, which has just been an exciting year in terms of the new playoff and everything that's gone into that, all the portal stuff. It feels like it's wide open for just about anybody. And you've seen some of the teams this year. I'm sure you've paid attention to some teams that maybe Alabama hasn't played. How do you see it playing out? And is this an Alabama team right now that you think could go on to win a national title?
It's something I've been asking myself, frankly,
Yeah.
George, like the past few weeks, because for a while it was, man, I don't know if they can even make the playoff. But from basically Missouri on, they've looked like a legit contender because, to your point, there really just aren't those teams that just dominate up and down that you're like, yeah, man, that's going to be the top team at the end of the year. And of course, you never 100% know, but there's so much just parity right now. And there's so many teams that could have one game that goes really well one Saturday, the next Saturday it's not there. And so, yeah, I think that Alabama can contend, and I think they can beat anyone, but I don't know that they will. I think that's probably where I stand right now. And so to answer your question, I lean toward no, just because I think they're still getting some things in place. And I think that a year one national championship under DeBoer would surprise me just because they still have some question marks. And like I said, I don't know that the pass rush defensively is where it might need to be to go win a national championship. And I don't know if offensively, if they have up and down the consistency to go win a national championship. I think they're a really good football team, and I think they can beat most teams. And frankly, they could probably beat any team in the country. I just don't know that they will. And maybe it's me having been on the road a few times with Alabama and seeing them fall short against Vanderbilt, against Tennessee, that's still fresh in my mind. But I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic. So whether that means they can go win the whole thing, I don't know. But I think it's a team that you don't necessarily want to play right now.
It's the vibe and the pulse just of the Alabama fan base with a trip up coming to Norman. I know there's a lot of people around these parts that still excited about it. I think that, the way that Oklahoma's played football this season is probably taken away from it a bit, but still Oklahoma, Alabama, two phenomenal blue blood programs going at it. Is the Crimson Tide fan base excited about this one? Maybe not maybe more so than others. Obviously got the Iron Bowl coming up next week, but where's the fan base at just in terms of a trip up to Norman?
Yeah, I think people are excited. I know I'm excited. I haven't been to Norman yet, so I'm excited to check it out. And I think others I've talked to feel a similar way. To your point, I think Oklahoma's struggles maybe make it less exciting than it might have been. But even I'm not done comparing Oklahoma to Wisconsin, but when the Wisconsin trip, Wisconsin has never been seen this season as a top contender. I don't think anyone really thought they were going to contend for the Big Ten. Actually, frankly, maybe a better year than we thought they were going to have. But I think going to that trip, even though Alabama fans weren't expecting this premier matchup of maybe two of the best teams in the country, fans are still excited. It's a new place. It's a place that people haven't spent much time in. It's not just another trip to Vanderbilt or another trip to even Tennessee or Baton Rouge to watch those games. And so I think that the new factor of it and just having a new place to go against a historic program and not just a historic program, but a place where the fans are really into it and really excited about it. I think people were excited for that in Wisconsin. I think they're excited for that with Oklahoma. And so I think that, forget the records, people who just love college football are looking forward to this game.
No doubt. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be awesome.
I know the game might not be close. We'll see. But it should be fun when both these teams, anytime they go to battle against each other, it's, I guess, expected to be on paper pretty good. Oklahoma and Alabama coming up. Oklahoma looking to play spoiler. He is Nick Kelly with AL.com. We appreciate it. And have a safe trip up to Norman. Look forward to seeing you Saturday.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys, and look forward to seeing you guys on Saturday.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Nick.
Really good to catch up with Nick. I'm excited for him to get his first taste of Norman, much like a bunch of the Crimson Tide fans that probably weren't here in 2000. I guess that would have been two. And then OU went down to Tuscaloosa in 2003. Still wild to me that this is only the third time one of these games has been on campus.
Yeah.
Which is, one of the reasons, as well as the senior group that we'll talk about, that you should be coming to the game on Saturday. All you got to do is use Game Time, as we have told you about all season, gametime.co. One of the easier things to do is just download the app and use it. You can see where your seats are, the curated deals to get you the lowest price, which is $86 right now for the all-in price. Using the Game Time app. All you got to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code ON3, that is ON, the number 3, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. And again, just create an account, redeem the code, spell it out, ON3, ON, number 3, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Last game of the season. You got to come, and at least come tailgate, go to the game, have some fun.
It's wild to me that as much as I think a lot of people are anticipating and getting to the end of the season, It is sad in a way because everybody, we talk about this in August. You wait all that time to get into the football season, then you blink and then it's gone. It is the final game in Norman, and no better reason to come down to support a bunch of these seniors that we're about to talk about. Again, all you got to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code ON3, ON number 3 for first purchase. You get $20 off. Simple stuff.
Terms apply.
Terms do apply. Absolutely. That's correct. All right, let's talk about some of these seniors because I do remember, going out to Weatherford to see Ethan Downs play and some of his spring ball going into his senior year of high school. I was looking back at some of the video. Josh McQuistion went down and he talked to Danny Stutzman in Florida when he was a senior. It's wild that we are to the end of this ride for some of these guys.
It's crazy. You covered him, a lot of these guys early on in their careers a lot more than
that
me.
Might just say about my age too. We're getting old.
Well, I mean, I've only been here the last couple years,
Sure.
and I had left for Denver, before those guys got to campus, and so it's one of those things that it's been fun to watch them from a distance, and then now cover them and get to know them. But I remember a guy like Billy Bowman and how highly recruited he was to come into Oklahoma, and that first year they kind of were playing him wherever, and then he kind of really blossomed under Brent Venables, Danny Stutzman as well. Ethan Downs is somebody that I feel like just goes unnoticed at times sometimes.
Every year has taken a step up in his game, and I would hope that he's rewarded with a invite to the Senior Bowl alongside Billy and Danny. That'd be special for that trio in Mobile in January.
And I think he's somebody that can play in the NFL.
Sure.
Is he going to be a superstar edge rusher? Probably not, but I do think that he's got a lot of really good ability. He's very consistent, so I hope he does too. And then guys like a guy like Woody Washington, that is somebody that I covered. It's
the
crazy.
elder statesman,
dude. It's crazy. His first real playing time in his career was in that Peach Bowl against LSU, and I know a lot of fans don't want to remember that. Woody Washington was kind of a bright spot in that game. I feel like he came in. It was Buki that got kicked out of the game. Justin Broyles was playing. De'Aaron Turner-Yell was hurt. And Woody came in and played pretty well. And I remember thinking at the time, I was like, man, they got something in Woody Washington.
It's going to be kind of unique that everything's going to be bookended. Like the first intro to Woody Washington obviously was that Peach Bowl. But next week, as Oklahoma goes down to Baton Rouge, it's going to be kind of a bookend for his career. We'll have a little bit more on Woody. We'll obviously hear from him here. But when you're talking about Billy Bowman, Ethan Downs, Danny Stutzman, Woody Washington, Bob Przybilla did the numbers here. You're talking about 876 tackles, 77 tackles for loss, 20 and a half sacks, 20 interceptions, 9 forced fumbles, 6 fumble recoveries, and maybe the most surprising number, 5 touchdowns amongst that foursome on the defensive side of the ball.
You forget about, I think it was Danny had a pick 6 against Tulsa last year, right?
Yeah.
And, but they've been.
Billy Bowman's had some massive ones, whether it be in Provo saving the game, should have saved the game up in Columbia with the fumble recovery.
But they've had such a huge impact, and really have become the poster, I guess poster boys for the Brent Venables era. And I get that it's not gone great, but in terms of what he wants to build here at Oklahoma long term, it's the foundation is those guys.
Sure.
And I think that them sticking it out for one more year when they easily could have gone to the NFL. And have they improved their draft stock this year? I think probably a little bit. I know Danny has for sure this season, but for them to come back, I think it says a lot about their character, but also a lot about what Brent wants to build and their buy-in. And so it's been great to see those guys. And Eddie, we've gotten to know them. They're just great dudes too, and
great representatives of the program. And, when you talk about culture and all that kind of stuff, I think they are kind of that foundation or the bedrock of what this thing is right now, which is a positive, whether people want to believe it or not. I think that they do have those tools in place. It's about, more so on the field and getting everything going on the offensive side of the ball. Neither here nor there. I guess it is a lot of here, but it is going to be kind of sad to see those guys go.
Yeah, and, I'm interested. Who's going to win the Don Key Award?
Sure. I would imagine if it's not that fivesome, it will be a number of those guys within that fivesome that kind of make up the Don Key Award. And I know it's kind of turned into a little bit of a committee the last couple years in terms of who they announce or who they put forward with the winner of that thing. But I would imagine it's going to be that core group of guys.
I would think so.
And when you talk about buy-in, I do think that, like talking to Jackson or talking to some of the players this week, it's important to send those guys off onto on good terms. And if you're, asking yourself what's there to play for, it's to play for those seniors and that group of guys that have been around here for so long.
Yeah, look, when you talk about, seniors and senior day, and we all get it. They're big underdogs this weekend, but there is a lot to play for. You want to leave a lasting legacy on that field. Imagine if their last, memory on that field is upsetting Alabama.
Sure.
Feel pretty good.
Yeah,
so,
pretty damn cool.
And I think that, again, the way you hear some of these younger guys talk about the senior class tells you how important they've been for their leadership in the locker room, keeping this thing together. And we all get it. We've said it ad nauseum. Season has not gone the way that anybody wanted it to, but I do think that for the most part, this group has stayed together in that locker room. And that says a lot about the senior leaders like Danny and Billy and Woody and Ethan.
No doubt. Here is kind of wrapping all of that up in video form, talking about the Sooner seniors.
Yeah, man, they've just been fantastic, completely bought in. They've been the example when it comes to the work, the investment, the love for their opportunity and their teammates, the locker room. They've enriched it in every way. They've grown as men in every way that you'd want them to, as a coach and as a parent. Incredibly proud of what their contributions, from a football standpoint, but what a great legacy all of them have left. For this is what it looks like to pour into the program and to make the most of their opportunity, squeeze all the juice out of it that you can, and then just be present in the moment. They all have incredibly bright futures, but something I've been most proud of is they haven't gotten distracted. Through the good and the bad, they've been as consistent of people in this program, players in our program, that you could ever want them to be. So I'm really, really thankful. I love these guys like my own kids, and proud of all of their accomplishments, and know they're going to go dominate. When their careers here are finished.
Looking forward to bittersweet last game on this field for you.
Yeah, it's sad. It really goes by fast. Every senior is going to say that. It's cliche, but it's so true. It's going to be a little, it's painful coming back here for the last time. I've had so many, great experiences, the highs of the highs, lows of the lows. But, I think I've no regrets with how my career has gone. Every time I step on that field, I leave it all out there. And so, I'm just going to take advantage of the opportunity and just take it all in one moment at a time.
It mean everything, for real. My last home game here in the Palace, so it'll mean everything to go out with a W on our last game in the Palace.
Be huge. Obviously, Danny and Billy aren't going to be here next year. A bunch of our, we have a bunch of seniors that aren't going to be here next year, and so for them, I think we've lost a handful of games this year in the Palace, and that's honestly not acceptable for this program and this standard. So, sending them off with one last one would be very special.
It means everything. Just going out with a dub, we want to win this game. Not only for us, but for this program and for Coach V and the coaching staff as well. Just going out with a bang. It's been a long year, and it's been rough. But if we can just go out and win this game, I know it'll be really important to all the guys that you just mentioned, and it's just like I said, just the coaching staff as well.
All the seniors, and obviously you can look at Danny and Billy and point those guys out, but all the seniors that have been around, I don't think I've seen a better leader than Ethan Downs. That's speaking from the truth, man. His ability to rally all of us, and not only that, but I don't even know how to describe it. He's very rooted in the Bible and God's word, and I think he's a great facilitator of that. If he's not a preacher when he gets older, I don't know what he'd be. But I think all those seniors are fantastic, and for Danny and Billy, like those guys, obviously they're going to be remembered forever here. Danny, his personality, he'll be remembered here forever. And just for those guys, I want it so bad for them these next 2 weeks to go out and go get a win for them.
So if nothing else, you got that. And I do think that like the senior day stuff, it's always cool to see the parents come out, get recognized with their kids. And some of these guys are going through like a second or third senior day. I know I was going back through some of the video. Woody Washington went through senior day a year ago.
That's crazy, and like I said, I remember watching him in the Peach Bowl, and I remember his recruitment.
Sure.
He was a big time recruit. I believe out of Tennessee.
Yep.
And
Murfreesboro, I believe.
Yeah, and
one of those towns.
I think he was originally supposed to play safety. Came in, ended up starting at corner, and was really good.
Sure,
and was kind of the most reliable guy. And to see him kind of grow in his career, and he was somebody that I think he knew coming back this year, because he could have gone last year. I don't know if he would have gotten drafted. Probably would have been an undrafted guy, but could have gone and taken a chance in the NFL a year ago. And he came back and knew that he was probably going to have maybe a little bit lesser role.
Sure.
And it's played into a position where he's playing some cheetah, he's played some safety, he's played some corner, and really maybe shown his versatility. Will he make it at the next level? We'll see. But for him to come back, I think says a lot, again, about him and wanting to contribute to this thing, and also knowing that he needed to show a little bit more to NFL scouts and things like that.
No doubt. Before we get out of here, Brent Venables did talk about, just Woody Washington and being around here for so long as he has, as well as Woody and what it's meant to him.
Just as loyal as they come. And he cares deeply about this place and his opportunity, his teammates. We don't have a better leader, a guy that pours into his teammates more than Woody. And great humility. Coach, I'll play wherever you want me to play. And he's been a guy that's plugged in a lot of different spots for us, has always been ready, great competitor, great example for the younger players of what leading looks like. And again, to me, great leaders are ones that can reproduce it. And that's what he's intentionally tried to do and has done. He's brought the best out of the young players around him and his teammates. Been a great example for others.
I think it's been great. Despite the 2 years this year and then the year we weren't so good, went 6-7. I think that Coach V, he's transformed this place and on a good note, not a bad note at all. Despite the records or whatever, Coach, the way that Coach V runs this program is great. Just the way everything that he talks about and just the soul mission and then all those different things that he's doing just outside of football, making sure that guys are going to be good once they leave this place.
Is that in for you that this is last home game here? Is it weird, nostalgic?
Yeah, a little bit. It's been my last couple of games. I was like last year and the year before I was planning on leaving, ended up coming back. But for it to be my last one, it is definitely crazy.
I believe the number will be 17 seniors going through senior day festivities on Saturday.
Wow. That's it's actually not that big of a number,
Smaller
I guess.
number, but, obviously a number
Some
of
very
these guys
impactful guys.
have played
And,
quite a bit of football around here.
Woody's a guy, I could see him, if you told me in a few years he's back here in Norman as a GA or quality control guy or analyst or something, would not surprise me. I think that he's obviously a very smart football player and somebody that you heard at Brent Venables really, really likes.
Possibly just 8 quarters left in the Oklahoma football season. We'll get you out of here with this. Any chance you look up in the fourth quarter and it's a ball game on Saturday?
I think there's definitely a chance. Look, the one thing that you can say about Oklahoma this year, it's they've lost a lot of football games, but they've kept a lot of these games close. And other than South Carolina, where the game was over within the first 5 minutes, and even Texas, that game was close until they started fumbling the ball away, and that's not to say that couldn't. I mean, if Oklahoma fumbles the ball away in the first half against Alabama, it's not going to be close. But if you told me it's a fourth quarter game and it's a 1-score or 2-score game in the fourth quarter, and Oklahoma's just kind of keeping it close, I don't think that would surprise anybody. The way that Alabama's played this year, they've definitely shown that they can play down to their opponent at times, and Oklahoma has shown that they can hang with good football teams. I just don't know if they can beat good football teams.
Might be like the Ole Miss game quite a bit.
Yeah.
In that, hey, you're in it. You just got to make some plays there in the third quarter, and maybe things get different in the fourth.
And we talk about the crowd. I do think it's going to be a really good crowd.
I hope so.
And if Oklahoma somehow gets a good start, maybe they get a turnover or they score a touchdown by some miracle, they go down the field and score on the opening possession, that crowd's going to get behind them.
Sure.
It's going to remind you a lot of that Tennessee game where it felt like Oklahoma was really in the game.
The fans were in the game. You needed something to believe in. And they never gave you that real opportunity.
Would that surprise you if Oklahoma was somewhat in the game?
No, I don't think so at all. I just hope for a really good atmosphere because I think that even as bad as this season's been, and it's not going to make up for it if you were able to win, I just hope for one more kind of special night at the Palace for a number of these seniors coming up on Saturday at 6:30. ABC got the A-team in with Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Holly Rowe. Should be a fun time
that they're going to be at this game.
I know. Another trip down to Norman. We just wish Ben would have been with him. Maybe Peter will be there.
Yeah.
And we can meet him for the first time.
That'd be awesome.
All right. Sounds good.
No more speeding.
Stay safe out there. I'm just glad that you're wearing a seatbelt.
Just trying to get to work on time.
Yeah,
I know.
Which is a struggle for some.
Yeah. So, but I've usually been on time, but I was just a little running behind today. Was trying to get to work.
Maybe it'll be maybe they'll send you like a penance that you have to do instead of paying the ticket.
Well, I heard Kerry's going to pay for the ticket for me.
Interesting. Well, that might be news to him as well. I hear him yelling now. All right, that's going to do it. He's George Stoya. I'm Eddie Radosevich. Yeah, we'll turn these back on for you here. I don't know. There you go. Isn't that kind of scary?
That is scary.
All right.
Put that on top of your car, your Lexus.
Well, real quick, we used to do that in high school. It's very, very illegal. You can't do that. You can't pull people over in Bluestone, I guess. All right. We'll talk to you next time here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.